Three simple words have reshaped the global manufacturing industry. Made in China. It's not just your clothes or toys, but also humanoid robots, EV cars, and drones. China-made high-tech goods can be found on roads, in the skies, and even in bedrooms. They can all be traced back to a single, ambitious plan set out a decade ago. Made in China 2025. The Beijing-backed initiative aimed to move China away from its role as the world's factory to one more focused on key technologies.
China by then was stuck in a big but not strong manufacturing mode.
But references to the plan were later dropped from official documents. So how did Made in China 2025 change the country? In 2015, then Premier Li Keqiang unveiled a 10-year program during the two sessions, China's annual parliamentary meetings. The plan proposed 260 goals spanning 10 key high-tech sectors, many involving highly specialized and complex technologies like robotics and artificial intelligence. But that was just the first step of a much larger plan.
There are three phases. The first phase by 2025 is what we talk about Made in China 2025. It is a catch-up in key sector phase. And by 2035, it will reach a parity with global industry leaders in most high-tech areas. But by 2049, the goal is to become the world leader in manufacturing and innovation, with full supply chain independence.
When the plan was unveiled, the term Made in China was still associated with lower quality products.
At that time, China just became the world's largest manufacturing nation by volume, but it still lagged behind in innovation, resource efficiency, industrial structure, and digitalization, some actual benefits.
At the time, it seemed like the rest of the world was filled with Chinese-made goods. But a closer look revealed that many things available in China were made elsewhere. In 2015, about 60 to 70% of cars on the road in China were manufactured by foreign car makers. Most of the planes in the skies were made by Boeing or Airbus. And many Chinese factories that were churning out goods for the rest of the world were using machines imported from overseas. Even the databases used by banks relied on multinational corporations for coding and maintenance.
So it was meant to change the country's big but not strong sectors of its manufacturing sector.
The purpose of the plan is to upgrade China's manufacturing industry with the goal of shifting China from being a world factory to becoming a global leader in high-tech manufacturing.
But as China has shifted from low-cost manufacturing to semiconductors and artificial intelligence, leaders in the West have voiced concerns.
China's an abuser.
We have issues with access to the Chinese market.
We have a number of trade disputes with China.
Donald John Trump.
During his first term in office, U.S. President Donald Trump took aim at Chinese exports. His series of tariffs imposed in 2018 sparked a still growing trade war.
The trade war with the U.S. significantly impacted the Made in China 2025 plan. The U.S. targeted the initiative, viewing it as a threat to Americans' leadership.
The U.S. government sanctioned Chinese high-tech enterprises, raised import duties, and began investigating scientists who had worked with professors, universities, and research centers in China. Then U.S. President Joe Biden in 2021 went a step further by imposing an export ban on high-end chips to China.
So after the trade war intensified, China stopped publicly discussing this plan to avoid further geopolitical tensions. And sometimes they just change the plan's name or just mention it in another way. Actually, they are trying to focus on a broader policy goals. Like we know the dual circulation and the self-sufficiency in scientific and technological infrastructure. So the specific goals and the strategies of the plans will never change.
Observers say Washington's efforts to constrain China's tech industry have had the opposite effect.
the actually is interesting is the trade war didn't kill the plan. That's my opinion. It actually strengthened China's determination to build its own supply chains.
我认为美国的这个贸易战、科技战是帮助了、倒逼了中国制造2025的完成的速度。换句话说，我认为特朗普在帮助建设更美好的中国。在2015年之前的相当长一段时间里面，中国科技界是存在着巨大的幻想的，认为科技成果我们自己拥有干嘛要自己拥有呢？干嘛要自己研发呢？那还不如去买呢，买呢还不如去租呢，租了更便宜。实际上给予中国制造业、中国工业、中国科技人以一次重重一击，就是告诉我们自己那些科技人你不要有存在幻想。你不要以为你有钱，你有科技投入这个科技研发投入，你就可以从美国买到任何你想买到的东西，更不可能租到或借到你只能自己原创。
Despite having China's access to semiconductors severely curtailed, Chinese AI firm DeepSeek shocked the world by coming up with a much cheaper model. China also ramped up local manufacturing of the kinds of machinery once imported from abroad, while also making inroads in emerging markets such as Southeast Asia and Latin America, two regions once dominated by goods from the US and its allies. So, over the 10 years since the plan was rolled out, how much has China achieved? A post-investigation in April 2024 confirmed that more than 86% of the goals laid out in the Made in China 2025 report had already been accomplished, with others likely to be completed by the end of 2025. The country has achieved 9 of the 10 key targets, according to a report by Beijing's Renmin University of China.
那么这份报告的核心观点呢，就是认为中国制造2025基本已经完成了预设的目标。还剩下一大行业，就在农业制造领域正在完成中。
As a result, many Chinese have witnessed profound changes in society. China's EV dreams have been realized, with Shenzhen's BYD leading the industry by sales and overtaking US rival Tesla. More smart factories have been installed in China than in any other country. Tech giant Xiaomi's EV factory, for example, rolls out a new car every 76 seconds with over 700 robots operating around the clock. And the production capacity of Chinese shipyards has surpassed the combined deliveries of Japan and South Korea. The three countries now make up 85% of the world's ships. China is also home to the world's largest high-speed railway, stretching 45,000 kilometers.
Chinese government policies were very helpful in creating an environment where local firms benefit from foreign investment into China. People might think our Chinese government might directly give the policies or give subsidies. It's not that, but it's rather than create the full ecosystem to make the business work.
While Beijing counts the growth of key industries identified in the Made in China 2025 initiative a success, many in the West have decried central government backing and their access to cheap financing as threats to free market economies. In eastern China, hundreds of abandoned cars wait to be scrapped as EV trade-in subsidies are implemented across the country. Critics from the US and Europe claim that sectors like China's EV industry are able to absorb heavy losses through government support, which makes it impossible for Western rivals to compete on price. But others disagree, saying it's part of market competition.
真正的选择是来自于市场动力。中国的产品它首先物美价廉，是市场选择了它。当然，政府一定在帮助中国制造的发展，比如说提供一个宽松的社会环境，社会治安，相对好的财税政策等等，这些都是一个政府本应该做的。
Meanwhile, while Beijing can herald successes in many key sectors, it still lags behind in a few areas.
Despite heavy investment, China still can't produce advanced chips.
It still faces challenges in achieving some self-sufficiency in some key technologies, such as the semiconductor area where it relies on foreign suppliers, and could face further sanctions in the future.
In the aerospace sector, the speed of building a giant internet satellite constellation to compete with Starlink has been slower than expected. And while the Chinese-made passenger plane C919 has been serving some of the nation's busiest routes, it still relies on foreign parts.
Other challenges include maintaining the quality and innovations and our competitiveness in sectors where domestic competition has already led to price wars and overcapacity.
As China has shifted away from the US market, other smaller trading partners, like those in Southeast Asia, have complained about cheap goods flooding their markets and undercutting local suppliers. Despite growing external pressures, Chinese policymakers continue to see manufacturing as a core component of the country's future economic development. Beijing is now setting out to achieve the next two phases of its Made in China 2025 plan.
我们坚持走发展实业的道路。过去都是洋火洋造、洋铁，后来变成全世界第一大制造国，这条路是走对了。中国式现代化还要继续把制造业搞好，制造业技术要自己掌握，这样中国式现代化才能够真正实现。希望寄托在你们身上。
Last year, the government proposed another ambitious program to develop new productive forces, which is seen as a continuation of the Made in China 2025 initiative.
Unlike Made in China 2025, which focus on 10 specific main sectors, the new productive forces covers a wider ranges. It has more flexibility and maybe it can adapt to the changing technological landscapes better.
So it's about creating globally leading technologies in areas like quantum tech, brain-machine interfaces, and AI. So it's less about factories, but more about frontiers. So aiming to position China not just as a tech user, but as a global tech creator.
But after the experiences from the past decade, some experts say China will move more cautiously to achieve its ultimate manufacturing dream.
中国制造后2025时代已经开始了。中国制造的持续升级，中国是不可能体现的。我觉得我们中国采取这种公开的去发布自己的战略目标的这种方式觉得会变得更加低调一点。希望减缓在舆论层面不必要的中国和西方的冲突。更重要的是我认为在未来的科技交流、科技合作还是非常必要的。即使中国完成了绝大多数高科技产品的国产的替代，中国也不回避不断的跟西方的科技的合作。